All right. Well, welcome to the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper. This is our real talk. This is where we're going to be talking about the behind the scenes, your bookkeeping. And we have a very special guest here today with us. I'm very excited. Emily, do you want to share a little bit about who we have today?
Yes, we've got Alicia Porter with us here today, one of our former students, our current mentors. She is awesome. We are going to be talking about betting on yourself, about money mindset. We're going to talk about, is AI going to replace bookkeepers, and what surprises us about business owners. So let's take a listen.
All right. Who's ready for some real talk about your bookkeeping business or maybe starting your bookkeeping business? I'm excited to really kick things off today. Emily, how are you today?
I am so good. I'm looking forward to an awesome conversation. We've got Alicia Porter on with us today. Amazing mentor, amazing student, amazing business owner. And honestly, did we need to stop?
Work from home business owner whose vacuum cleaner just kicked on.
Oh, that is so funny.
I love it.
Alicia is awesome. She's an amazing bookkeeper, just an amazing human being and mentor in our academy all around. And we just have a great time chit-chatting with you. And Alicia, you're a little bit of a celebrity over here. Anytime we have you on our webinars, on challenges, on happy hours, you are the number one most celebrated person. People just love getting to talk to you. So welcome, welcome. We're excited to have you today.
Honestly, Alicia, every time we interview you, somehow either myself or Emily or somebody, we start crying. I just want you to know.
We're going to try not to do that today. We'll try.
Awesome. All right. Well, Emily, we're going to kick off with some questions. I'm going to kick off one and then we'll kind of go back and forth and banter. Alicia, hopefully, you won't hold back on us because we're going to ask some really personal behind the scenes questions and kind of so that's real talk. So people really understand what it's like to have a bookkeeping business or how to grow and scale your bookkeeping business. And so obviously you know how to do that. So let's go back to the very, very beginning of when you started. Tell us what made you decide to start a bookkeeping business? What was it that prompted that original thought process behind this career choice?
Yes. So back when COVID happened, I was already working from home. But I was also traveling a lot, and which I loved about my job. Then, of course, COVID grounded us all, and I didn't really love my job that much anymore. So I started, kind of thinking about different things that I could do, that I was qualified for, that I wouldn't have to take a pay cut. And so I couldn't really come up with anything. So it actually took me, probably a year and a half of researching and scratching that out and not doing that. And that's not scalable, and all the different things, all the different MLMs, all the different, side hustles that everybody's tried, I think. And one day I was scrolling and saw one of Tiffany's ads, and I was like, bookkeeping. I like numbers, and I could do that from home. And I could probably make that work. I don't know. Let's see. And so I just booked a call with Tiffany, and I was like, okay, I have no experience in bookkeeping. I like numbers. I like math. And as a bookkeeper, we actually do a lot less math than you would think, but I like math and I like organization. And so it kind of just checked all the boxes. And so that and the opportunity to make a good living, I was like, okay, well, let's give this a shot. And I did. And at first, it wasn't necessarily my plan to make it my full-time career. I wanted it more to help make ends meet, so that I could change my full-time job, because I knew I would need to be able to supplement my income, to be able to still do something that I enjoyed, but something that I enjoyed wasn't going to pay as well as what I was currently doing. So I needed to kind of figure out what I could do to make up the difference. I was like, well, I'll do this bookkeeping business as a side gig and, bring in a few extra $100 every month, and that'll be fun. And then
And
here
here
I
you
am,
are now.
I
3 years
know.
later, full-time business.
I
I
love
love it.
that.
So I wanna we're real talking here, right? And you've mentioned before the MLM thing and in trying a couple things before you got into bookkeeping. Can you talk a little bit about that? What you tried in that world and then what made this opportunity a little bit different for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I've tried them all. Anything from Pamper Chef, Mary Kay twice, Norwex. There was a travel one, which is funny because I don't even get to travel that much. So, different. Oh, the Pampered Chef one was hilarious because everybody that knows me knows I'm not a great cook. And so, you have to do all these videos about how, look at this amazing, hors d'oeuvre you can make with this pan. And people were like, Alicia, you've cooked more since you joined Pamper Chef than I've ever seen you cook. I was like, yeah, I got to make content. I mean, what am I supposed to do? And so, um, all of them went really well at
Mhm,
launch, but then it
mhm,
was like not authentic.
mhm,
Everybody can tell. Like,
mhm,
I don't, do tons of makeup. I don't do I did like Norwex for the house cleaning part. I am a cleaner, so there was that. But we were also in the middle of a pandemic, so everybody was cleaning. And
mhm,
so that business was going great for about 3 months and then just nothing. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm bored with this. I don't like this anymore." And so I'd move on to the next thing. And so that's kind of how my entrepreneurial journey began was, 3 month span at a time. And so when I started my bookkeeping business, it was like a joke. Like, how long is the course? Because if it's any more than 3 months, you might as well just let it go because that's your lifespan of your business is 3 months. I was like, no, no, that's not how this was going to go. Because
mhm,
with MLMs, you have to be, or any business really, but with you have to be passionate about what you're selling.
mhm,
And I just wasn't. And it came across that I
mhm,
wasn't being authentic. Like, I just didn't really love anything. I mean, they all sell great products or whatever, but like, it just wasn't for me. And
mhm,
so I couldn't really get behind it and get motivated and passionate and have other people join, like the whole joint team jointed thing. That was the hardest part for me. I could sell stuff all day long, but convincing somebody else, like, come be on my team. No, this is not a pyramid scheme. Like, we're going to make money together. We're going to be rich and drive Cadillacs together. And it just wasn't, it wasn't my jam. So, um, obviously in my bookkeeping business, the only thing, I'm passionate about numbers. I'm passionate about helping other people and I believe in me. So it
mhm.
wasn't hard to get behind that.
So when you started though, and you started talking to Tiffany and you took that leap into it, was there any challenges that you faced or anything that when you were getting started that maybe real talk here that you could share with others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was in a not so healthy relationship, and did not have any support at home. I guess me laying out the foundation of my 3 month entrepreneurial endeavors kind of, I guess, set the tone for that. But it was, like, oh, here we go again. Like, this is a big investment. This isn't $150 makeup kit, Alicia. Like, you know, you're throwing your money away. You're wasting your time. Like, we all know how your businesses go. Just no support.
Mhm,
And then I have children also, so I was working full time, raising children full time, managing and running a household full time with no help or support. So I had to work early, I had to work during lunch, I had to work after the kids went to bed to try to get my business up and going. So it definitely was a rough and rocky start. And without the support of everybody at the Bookkeeping Academy, I definitely would have not made it at all. So the support of the community is what really got me through with that.
wow, that's great. Emily, I know you had a question here real quickly.
Yeah. So, well, I wanted to ask because I think in those moments we hear a lot more than people would think that sometimes the people in your life who are supposed to love you who do not support you who are the biggest people to cast doubt on what you're doing. So I know you shared that being a part of the academy and our mentors and our team helped you through that. But have you always had that grit? I mean, what got you through that? Because that could be pretty isolating, and I know that's difficult for people. But we hear it all the time. It's a pretty common story,
Yep.
unfortunately.
I
Yeah,
guess it's the
yeah.
drive, like, right? What
Mhm.
was your drive for that?
Um, so I'm pretty stubborn. like, tell me I can't, I'll show you how I can kind of thing. I guess in this instance, it worked out well for me. I was just so tired of being like in a mediocre life. I was like, there has to be more than
Mhm,
this. Like, I'm so sick of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm so sick of having to tell my kids, no, we can't do that. We don't have the money for that. We can't go here. We can't buy that.
mhm,
And so I just knew like there had to be more. There had to be more. And this was an ideal opportunity for me to make that happen. And I knew that if I applied myself and just pushed through all the negative Nancy's and the naysayers, that I'd be able to show them. On the other side, I would be like, told you so. So, and
Did
it was,
you have a moment that I think you've spoken about this before, but have a moment you're on the other side of it, you've started your business and you've had a moment to stop and think, wow, I did this for myself. I mean, I went further than I thought, just making a couple extra $100 a month. I know you've talked about a couple iterations of that. Did you have one moment in mind of realizing, I've done this?
yes. So I decided that I wanted to open a physical office,
mhm,
take my work from home business to out of home. Once I had worked from home at this point for like 10 years. So, cause I was working
mhm,
from home for corporate. Um, and I was just kind of bored being home with my dog all day by myself. I was like, I think I'll open an office downtown and then I can, and it was in a co-working space. And so I could like, socialize with other business owners. And I was like, I don't know, like that feels really official, like
mhm,
real. And so when I did that and they put my logo on the door and you go downstairs into the lobby and my logo's on the wall, I was like, this is for real. Oh my gosh, look at that. My name is right there next to Edward Jones. Oh my God. Like, this is for real. And then, like, I would get on Google and Google my business and it would
mhm.
pop up. And I'm like, look, I got 5-star reviews. Like, I'm a real business owner. And sometimes I still wake up and I'm like, this is my whole life. I was driving down the road the other day and I was like, my whole world is on my shoulders. Like my business pays for everything in our life. Like I don't have like a, direct deposit hitting on every other Friday, like everything. But I was like, you know what? I'm not worried. Like
Mm,
I've got this. This is real. This isn't a pretend like 3-month business. This is a side gig. Like this is a real business. And like I have real clients that I have, when I go to different networking meetings and stuff, I walk in and I'm like, super intimidated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the owner of the biggest flooring company in town. And that's the person who owns that huge HVAC company. They got like 50 trucks all over town. And like, I'm eating lunch with these people. I'm like, oh, I'm an imposter. Like, oh my gosh, they're going to figure out that, I'm just little old me. But then the people, like some of my clients were in the room and stood up and gave me like this amazing, like testimonial. I was like, they're talking about me. Oh my God. So cool.
You're
So
so authentic. I think that's why people respond that way. I think maybe a myth about becoming a business owner is you need to become this big fancy corporate like persona,
yeah.
but people respond to that authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I love it. You're just so engaging to talk with. And that's all business owners want. They don't want another, just stuffy person to talk to. And, I think that's why you've been so successful is you are unapologetically you.
110%. I did one time, I almost stuck my foot in my mouth because I was talking and I was really nervous. And somebody asked me, they were like, well, what sets you apart from all the other bookkeepers and accountants and CPAs and, all the other people? And I was like, because I have a personality. And like, just, and then I was like, was that did you not get it? And then he started laughing, and he was like, "You're right. I had to think about it, and all of my no, none of my personality at all. You're right." And so he
Mhm.
ended up becoming one of my clients, and he was in a room one time and said that he was like, "I asked Alicia one time what set her apart. She said she's got personality," and I was like, "He sure does." And if you ever
Uh-huh.
email with her, or talk to her, or text her, you'll know she does. So that
I'm
was, I
curious.
don't know, that's
I'm cu
relatable.
I am curious though. Let's go back to the fact that you went to a building, right? And it's really interesting to me because the bookkeeping business, we talk about it all the time that you can have your business from home, from a beach. I personally like the beach, but it can be you can do your home office, it can be anywhere you want, it can be in an actual office. So for you, you decided I want that building. I want that office space. I want to have something that every day I'm going to and that I can call my space. What was that for you? Was it because that helped hold you accountable or was it because it was like it was something you'd always wanted? I'm curious because I've done it both. I've had an office and I work from home as well and I've had both and there's the pros and cons of both. So I'm just curious as to what made you decide to do that.
Yeah, so initially it was because I was still living um in my not so great situation and I didn't have any respect around my space. So I had an office at home, but it was located like on the main floor. And so there was no respect of the fact that, hello, I am on a Zoom call with a client. Please be
Mhm.
quiet. Like, you know, can you take the kids to go get something to eat? Like, I need this time to do what I'm doing. And there was just like really no respect around the fact that like I was doing a serious business and needed that. So I decided that I was gonna lease a space so that I couldn't I couldn't buy a whole house at that time. So I was like, okay, well, I can't like completely move out yet, but maybe I'll just get a co-working space, somewhere that I can go and have my time to work.
Mhm.
Which worked out really well because, I took the kids to school and then I would go and work and then pick them up, in the evening after school. And so it was really nice too, because then um, I didn't have the distractions of, oh, let me
Mhm.
go do my laundry or, oh, let me go, to the
Mhm.
kitchen to see what snacks we got or, oh, all the different distractions that happen when you're at home. So, it was fun. So that was my initial reason. Some of the other stuff came too, like I felt super official.
Right.
And that was something that made me stand out from all my competition, because and I call them competition, we all collaborate. We're not in competition at all because we're all so different. But um, they all work from home, but they don't have a physical space to meet with clients. And some of my more old school clients, they want to come in and sit down and go over all their stuff and talk about this and talk about that. And a lot of them don't have offices to do that. So if they
Mhm.
work, out in the field, they don't have an office to come and sit down and talk to them. So that was another, I guess, selling point on me getting like a physical office, which has actually worked out because where I had my office was in a super popular co working space, and they did lots of networking events on the floor where my office was. So my office door was, an advertisement every single time all those hundreds of business owners were in the building. So it it
Right.
worked out to my benefit. But I'm actually relocating, and I'm so excited.
I love
Oh,
that. Where are you
really? Are you
relocating?
getting a
Yeah,
bigger
where?
office? Where are you moving to?
So they opened a new co-working space on the other end of Main Street. So where my office is right now is downtown. Like you can walk out onto the patio and see the State House, like the Capitol building. Like it's primo like spot. However, a lot of the tenants are like super, super small businesses. And the networking stuff has relocated because they outgrew the space, like just
Mhm.
some different things. The new co-working space that they're opening up is super like luxurious. Like they have like huge marble floors and like it's, oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. And the clientele that they are marketing to is like more upscale businesses, like attorneys and stuff like that that would fit more into my target market.
Mhm.
So, since my lease is up, I was like, I think I'm gonna try down the street, and so I'm super excited.
You're growing.
Um,
That's
yeah,
very exciting.
yeah,
Mhm.
That's so exciting. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about networking. A lot of our students, people in our academy, they tend to get their first few clients from that networking process. So do you have any tips around that?
Yeah, so my business definitely started in networking. I got a couple of clients from like my Facebook advertising and people that just knew me that happened to be business owners who happened to need a bookkeeper. It all kind of felt a chance with that. But then I realized like I really have to get out and network and meet people if I want to grow my business here. And so I did, and it gets a lot less scary. I will say that. I was super intimidated, like had not been out my house in a long time, like other than to take my kids to school because I worked from home and, we were just coming out of all the COVID restrictions and stuff. So, I mean, it's like, I don't even know if I can talk to grown-ups anymore. Like, I don't know how to do this. So when the first one I went to was a BNI meeting, and everybody, of course, was super welcoming and stuff. And I would just say, like, be yourself. Like, don't try to, be something that you're not, because people can read that. Like, it comes
Mm,
across obvious when you're not being genuine. But just and go into things like that to help them, not so much like what can you do for me, but what can I do for you? Because a lot of people go into those things and they're like, well, I do this, and you don't even ask what the other person does. And they're like, well, you don't care about me or my business,
mm,
so I'm
mhm.
not gonna, break my neck to help you because you didn't even ask how I was doing today.
Yeah.
So just doing things, being genuine, and focusing on building relationships was
Mm,
the biggest, I think, turning point for me, instead of like how many people can I network with and talk about business with and do all this with, but building like authentic relationships with people has been the best thing for my business, because people refer their friends. And so you can be in the network group, with 100 people and just be a person in the room. And they're like, yeah, I think we have a bookkeeper. Let me find her card. But if you know me by name and you're like, oh, Alicia's great. Like, she's super nice. She's communicative. She's smart. She's this, she's that. Like, she's family oriented. When you know me, then you'll refer me and you'll do it, happily, without being like, oh, I need a point for my referrals this week. Here, let me give you Alicia's card. Like, so it makes it a lot easier when you go into it to make friends, build relationships, and look at it that way, instead of like, I need to get clients while I'm here, because that doesn't ever come out well.
So let's talk a little bit about the business owners, because I happen to know how great you are and how you how great you make them look and how hard you work with them. But I know a lot of them come to you for help because they make a lot of mistakes. And so let's talk about that for just a second. So if you were to think back to to the general most of your clients or these small business owners, what do you think are some of the most common mistakes that those smaller business owners make with their books that you are now fixing or helping at this point?
Yeah. So the number one thing, and as soon as somebody tells me this, my books are reconciled. No, they're not. No, they're not. They either think that all their transactions being categorized means that their books are reconciled. That's
Mhm.
not what reconciled means. Or they'll go through their bank statement and click off all the transactions so that the top is zero, but there's 10 transactions just left hanging out. And they're like, oh, yeah, those weren't on there. Well, those are duplicates, or, those are the wrong account, or what. It's not reconciled. That is not what reconciled is. And they're like, yeah, my bank balance and my QuickBooks balance is never the same. I don't know why, because you're not reconciled. That's why. So that's like the number one thing everybody says. My books are reconciled. I say, okay. Oh, yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So that, and then just a lot of different things, like with a lot of people don't understand like matching payments and deposits and stuff. And so they're duplicating their income. And so they're like,
Mm.
well, it says I made all this money, but I don't know where it went. And I don't think I made that much. Like, my deposits don't add up to that much. So something's not right. And so little things like that make a big difference, especially when
That's
it's
huge.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No,
Mhm.
that's actually that's huge because you're able to actually show them the truth of what they're making versus what they may have inputted and it's incorrect, right? So,
Mhm.
wow, that's great.
Was it difficult for you to learn all of that? Some people may be listening and think, "Oh gosh, I don't even understand what she's talking about. I'm a new person. Maybe I don't even want to be a bookkeeper. What is matching deposits? Oh no." So can you talk about that fear of some of this terminology?
Oh, yeah. So when I got on my first call, I was like, I'm ready, like got my paper ready to go. I've been clicking through this stuff, setting up my business. And then they started asking about reconciling. And I was like, now that I think about it, I don't even know what reconcile means. Maybe I should go look that up. Like I put that on there, reconcile. And that was like a really common word. I was like, that must be really important in bookkeeping. I gotta go figure out what reconcile means. And I was like, and somebody was like, it's kind of like balancing your checkbook. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
okay, I got it. I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna go look into that. And so then they were talking about debits and credits and,
Mhm.
double entry, double entries and journal entries. And I'm like, journal entry? I thought we were just categorizing stuff. What is a journal entry? Let me write that down. Go see what that is. And so it was super intimidating at first because
Mhm.
I really didn't have any experience. I had seen QuickBooks before, but never actually like used it.
Mhm.
And so I was very intimidated. But once I started got working through like all the lessons and courses, um, it broke it down for me and made it a lot easier to pick up. And
Mhm.
then, of course, all my questions I had, there were mentors readily available to answer all my questions, even though now looking back, I'm like, that was so elementary. I can't believe I didn't know what reconcile means. And so, now I'm like, that's easy. I know what that means. But yeah, in the beginning I did not. But it it I like I said, I like numbers and I like, just kind of all the things that come with being a bookkeeper. So I feel like I picked up on it pretty easily and kind of quickly. I also knew that it was something that I had to get down and get well and, do because I was getting clients. I was like, well, I can't do a bad job because then I'm going to ruin my reputation. Like, I got to learn this stuff. And so I just really dove into all the lessons and the teachables and stuff. And um, everybody was so helpful. And it just, yeah, it was intimidating, but it gets a lot easier.
Well, you talked about QuickBooks just a few minutes ago. So let's talk about maybe like some systems and tools, things like that that you might be using. What do you use? Or what do you
Yeah.
recommend if someone's starting out in their bookkeeping business? What do you recommend that they're using right now?
Yes. So I have also dabbled in all the workflow software, all the onboarding software, all the signature software, all the things. So I can save you thousands of dollars and tell you which ones I like the best.
Y'all get
So,
your notepad out.
right,
I know
right.
this is real talk.
I added it up and it was thousands of dollars that I
Wow.
spent in subscriptions trying to figure out what I liked or what worked the best. So, for my proposal slash engagement stuff and on signing for like the agreements and payments, I use a program called Anchor.
Okay.
Um, and it is fantastic. It does all my recurring payments. It does like ACH. It only charges once the payment processes. It's really fabulous. And one of the newer features of it is it maps and automatically um syncs and automates the setups of my clients in my um workflow software, my client management software, Keeper, which is now called Double as of today.
Right.
I
Right.
Which
was
is
like,
ironic because you're doing a call today with the group on how to use Keeper slash
Yep.
double. I just
Yep.
I
noticed
was
that.
like, yeah, today would
We're
be the day they
actually
change that.
we're actually doing an interview with Ben Stein, the owner of that, here in a couple of weeks. So
Oh
yes.
my god, I am
Yeah.
like a super fan of Ben's like that. Him and Hector Garcia. I'm like, I need a T-shirt that's like girlfriend. But yeah, so yeah, I love Keeper. It is fabulous. One of my favorite things isn't necessarily even a feature, it's the customer service and the fact that they listen. So whenever, somebody says like, hey, what would be really helpful is if this, and this would do this. And
Mm.
then in no time, guess what the new feature is? Whatever so-and-so asked for last week. They're really good about that. I feel like a lot of softwares like don't care. You
Mhm.
get what you get, don't throw a fit, keep moving. You can
Mhm.
pay us and use our software. But they don't do that. They really listen to their users and I've tried tons of different client management software, and theirs is by far the best for like bookkeeping, and because it's built specifically for that. So you're not building out different things. Like I had tried like Monday and ClickUp and Asana, Asana and Licio and like Client Hub, about 50 other ones. And so it just, there was always something that I had to like do a workaround for because it just
Yeah.
wasn't really set up for what I needed. And Keeper doesn't. Their stuff is like spot on for exactly what you need. Like their stuff's so good. I was like, oh, I wasn't even doing that. They thought of that before I like even knew I needed that. That's fantastic.
So you've
Well, we'll
got
have to tell
Anchor, you
Ben
got
how great this
Keeper.
is that you said
I
that.
know. We'll have to clip this for him.
I know.
Are there any other softwares or systems you use other than Anchor and Keeper?
So I do all my bookkeeping, of course, in QuickBooks
Mhm.
Online. But those are the main
Mhm.
platforms I use. Yeah.
Awesome. I love
I
that.
love
So let's talk. So we've talked about maybe a little bit about tools, what got you started. Um, I know since you've got kids and that's a big part of your life and having your lifestyle, I want to know now now that you know what you were doing and you created this amazing business, what made bookkeeping, that type of business, the most perfect fit for your lifestyle since you've tried so many other things, obviously.
Mhm.
What was it about bookkeeping?
Yes. So bookkeeping you can do remotely. You can scale very easily. And you can work with a very diverse group of people. Like, so I can pick, if I want to work, with all sorts of businesses, or if I want a niche in a specific business and just work with, a certain industry. There's just a lot of flexibility to it. My kids are teenagers. So when they graduate, I want to be able to travel the world. And so with my bookkeeping business, I can do that. So that was one of the things. And then I knew I needed something that didn't rely solely on me. I knew in the beginning it would, but eventually I wanted it to be something that I could grow and scale, and oversee and run, but I didn't have to do the work
Mm.
like every single day. It didn't have to be me. And that was really important to me because, I spent so long chained to a desk with corporate that I was like, I don't really want something that, I can only do as much as I can do. Like, I
Mm.
had thought about opening a food truck business. Well, I can only do as much as I can do. There's only so many hours, so many things you can sell in an hour, so many things, places you can be, just all the different things that go into figuring that out. And I was like, I need something that doesn't require me to be somewhere
Mhm.
specific at a specific time all the time. And so bookkeeping fits for that. There's no cap
Right.
on how much money you can make. There is no like concrete schedule. I make my own schedule. Of course I have to meet with clients at certain times and stuff like that. But even then, I lay out the options of what time and what day. So
True.
it just fit my life. It fits
Mhm.
it now, and it is I can grow it in a way that it'll fit it forever. And if I ever am like, I need to change direction, I want to do it this way, I can do that. So
I'd love to know. So you set out, you started just wanting to make a couple extra $100 a month, and then you've grown this really awesome business. What are your next goals? You've got the office, you're moving into a bigger office now. What other future goals do you have for yourself that you're still looking towards, you're working towards?
yes, so staff. I want to start. Have a team. So I fired, not fired. I hired my first doing it out of order apparently. I hired a admin to help me
Uh-huh.
with
Good.
my social media marketing and getting some other things set up. Just a bunch of different back office things that I just didn't have the capacity to do.
Mhm.
Like even when I did have a few minutes to do it, like that wasn't what I wanted to be doing. And
Mhm.
so I hired somebody to help me with all of that stuff, which is really funny because I'm personally not on social media anymore, but I have a bigger social media presence now than I ever did. And
Mhm.
people are like, I love all your posts. Like, I see them every day. You do such a good job with that. And blah, blah, blah. I was like, I know my admin is on top of it. Like, she is doing the thing. So,
That's powerful though. And I mean, I've seen your stuff. They look great, but don't you love that kind of peace of mind now that you've built something for yourself that you can pay someone else. You can be sleeping and someone is out there posting for you and keeping that engine going. That I mean, that's awesome. You built that. You like created that out of nothing. Like how does that feel? That's
Oh, it's
pretty
amazing.
incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like that's just the beginning. Like she is doing things on the back end for me so that do I have more time for creativity, like to think about how I want my business to grow.
Mhm.
Cause for so long I was in the weeds of it all and
Mhm.
was, couldn't even think about what else I wanted to do because I was like, I just got to get through what I got to do today. We'll
Mhm.
worry about the rest later. So just knowing that, I have built a business where I actually pay somebody else's salary. I'm like, "Oh, I'm real. This is real." It's one of those moments. But yeah, so now my next step, is to bring on like a junior bookkeeper. So I want somebody
Mhm.
who's doing like the day-to-day stuff of categorizing and reconciling and all that. And then eventually like a manager and then multiple junior bookkeepers and so on and so forth. That's the plan for right now.
And you're gonna end
So,
up in your own standalone office.
well, no,
Oh,
so
no.
I want to travel. I want to travel.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know that I won't, they'll probably be remote.
Mm.
I would love to have like my manager be local. Um, Just because I like to be able to go sit down and talk about things, and as great as Zoom is, it's just not the same. So I
Uh-huh.
would love to be able to find somebody local
Mhm.
that's, my office manager or practice manager or whatever. Um, but I'll probably have, mostly remote
Mm.
employees.
Okay.
And then just I will probably always not maybe not always, for the foreseeable future, keep a physical office,
Mhm.
just because I do like to have the option of, going in and like, I feel sociable today, I'm gonna go work at the office." And then on the days that I don't, I'm like, "Nope, we're gonna stay in the pajamas and work today, not going to see anybody." So, the different options there, but, um, yeah,
I
hiring a
love that.
team and growing and scaling that.
So
It's
that's for
great
you
how many
personal.
options there are. Go ahead, Deanna.
No, no, I was gonna say, I love that that's your, like, personal goal, for
Mhm.
growth. I love that.
Has there been anything that surprised you in this whole process? I mean, now that you're on the other side of it, you've grown, and of course, there are lots of other things that you want to do. Has there been anything about bookkeeping, being a business owner, about yourself, maybe that surprised you during the past few years of this process?
Yeah. Um, that it wasn't really that hard. Like, in the
Mhm.
beginning, I was like, you know, putting all this pressure on myself of, the expectations of what a business owner is and what a business owner looks like and, how hard it's gonna be. Um, Growing my mindset was a really big piece
Mhm.
of being successful in this because I didn't realize it, but I had like a lot of negativity around money. Like money is hard to make money. Like money doesn't come easily. Like you got to work hard. You got to give sacrifices for to have money. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if I've heard so many people say like um you know time is money, like you can't, have it all. You're not going to have great family life if you want to have a successful business. You got to dedicate your time to your business. And so like all of those things were what I initially came into it with. And so I was really hesitant about, well, do I want to give up like my home family life time, to be a successful business owner? Well, I want to be a successful business owner, but can I just have them both? Like I want
Mhm.
to, make lots of money and spend time with my kids.
Mhm.
And so it was surprising to me that none of that was true.
Mm.
Like it wasn't hard to make money. I didn't have to work no harder than I was working at my 9 to 5. Like, and it wasn't like, you know, huge. I mean, I would say I had to sacrifice a little sleep. I get up earlier in the mornings and I had to, sacrifice a Netflix show at night so that I could, learn what I wanted to learn.
Mhm.
There were sacrifices. We'll give them that part, but not in the way that I went into it. And so I would say that that was surprising to me. Um, it also surprises me at, like, some folks are successful business owners. You're like, "You run a multi-million-dollar business? Oh, I can definitely do this, like, no questions asked, I can do this." So, like, it's like, I guess the type of people that own
Mhm,
businesses surprise me because, like,
mhm,
a lot of business, you don't know who owns them and stuff, and so when I started meeting a lot of different business owners, I was like, anybody can own a business,
mhm,
really. Like, it's so
mhm,
surprising. It's not people in, these suits and walking around with their briefcases and, all these
mhm.
different things. That's not what business owners look like. It's just not. And so that was surprising to me. So lots of stereotypes got, taken out. That those weren't true. Lots of different money mindset things. Um,
That's important though, that money mindset, we hear that a lot. We are ingrained in a certain way to believe the only way to be safe in this life is a 9 to 5 and being chained to that desk, and that's what you gotta do. And to speak on the personality of business owners, it's really about who has the gusto to decide, "I want something different, and I'm gonna make a change," and that doesn't necessarily come from intelligence, it doesn't come from an IQ, it doesn't come from a fancy degree. It just comes from deciding, I want to live my life in a different way and I'm not going to give up, right? And I think your whole story is a testament to that. Despite what people have said to you, whether when you've had support, when you haven't had support, you said, I want a different life for me and my kids and I'm going to make it happen. And that's just incredible.
yep,
I
that
love
was
that.
it.
Well, let's wrap up today. I really appreciate the fact that you were able to be here and kind of share the real talk. But I do have one final question for you.
Mhm.
And I think it's one that we all kind of are anticipating because things are changing. They're always evolving. And so I'm curious to know what your take is where do you see the bookkeeping industry over the next 3, 5 years? Where do you see that growing?
Oh, man, so I think we'll probably move into a, more advisory type role because, they've got AI stuff going on to do the categorizing, which unless they make huge improvements, we're still gonna be categorizing then too, but, you know,
Right.
that's on that end. So, there and when with AI stuff, a lot of people ask me, like, "Do you think AI is gonna take over accounting and bookkeeping? Like, QuickBooks has got all these automations, like, what's the point in even having a bookkeeper anymore?" And I was like, "Well, you sign up to use those automations, and I'll see you in a few months, and I charge twice as much for it. So,
You heard it
you go
here. I love
I
that.
love
That's
that.
great.
You go right ahead and do that." So, but I think I think bookkeeping is really needed more now than ever, keeping up with your money. And, there, you don't, with the way everything's going, you want to make sure have all your records and stuff top notch for the IRS and everything else. So, I feel like, a lot of times smaller business owners are like, I don't really need a bookkeeper. I just have my bank statements. I keep my receipts in a box and stuff like that. I think as everybody grows and evolves, they'll see, oh, a bookkeeper is actually, it's not really a luxury, it's a necessity. Like everybody who owns a business needs a bookkeeper. So I think um, I think our business will be growing and thriving and because new businesses are open every single day. So,
Yeah, I think last year it was like over 6 million brand new businesses,
mhm.
right? That just popped up just last year. And that's not even this year, right? So like I see that it's a never ending opportunity. And so to me, it is the most recession proof easy business to be able to jump into and to be able to have customers that need you instantly. Like to me, it's just AI can help enhance it, and I think it's an amazing tool. But bookkeeping is not going anywhere. That's the best part
Right.
about all of it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think AI really makes our jobs harder in one point, but a lot easier in some other things too.
Mhm.
Like on the back end of, writing emails and helping with your marketing content, those kinds of things that really take up a lot of time as a business owner that you don't really think about. AI is super helpful in that. In the bookkeeping part itself, there's some things that help with like automations and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think we're going anywhere.
Nope, I don't either. And I think it's an amazing opportunity as well. So let's leave with this. And what do you think? What would you say, Alicia, is one piece of advice that you would give to someone that's got a bookkeeping business already, or someone that's thinking about what would that advice be?
Ooh, let's see. There's plenty of business for everybody. I know
Mhm.
I feel like sometimes when we start doing things, kind of like when you buy the red car and you see the red car everywhere.
Mm.
When I know when I started doing bookkeeping, I was like, there are bookkeepers everywhere. I see bookkeepers everywhere. But that's because, all the algorithms did start showing me all the bookkeepers. But there are so many businesses. There's enough business for everybody. And you can make your bookkeeping business whatever you want it to be. If you want to just, make enough money to help out with the bills at your house, you can do that. If you want to make enough money to, retire your spouse and have your business be the bread and butter of your house, you could do that. If you, want to quit your corporate job and replace your income and travel the world, you could do that too. So, it's really limitless, and anybody, that really has the drive and the want to and can get past all the naysayers, you can do it. It's out there. The business is there for everybody. So
Thank you. All right, Emily, any last words for Alicia here?
I just want to say, Alicia, you are awesome. Thank you for always being so generous with your time, sharing your story, and just feeling real. I think like you said, there's a stereotype of business owners need to be this like fancy thing, and it's not for everyone. And you just make me feel like, wow, really, if you say your mind to something, you can make it happen. You just have to have that vision. So we appreciate you. I know our students appreciate you. Our community appreciates you. So thank you. And thank you, Deanna, for being here. I've just had a great time.
I
well,
know.
thank
Thank you
y'all
so
again
much,
for having
Alicia.
me.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye,
Love y'all.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.